Church, regarding Lindsey and Alyssa, you know it's bad when Alyssa turns out to be the voice of reason in the whole situation. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, so let's jump right on into Lindsey versus Alyssa. So Lindsey says Alyssa talks about her and to her husband in an untoward fashion. Alyssa refutes it and basically says that she ain't got time to worry about Lindsey because she over here trying to be a good person. Now listen, y'all. When you are faced with two bad decisions, it's very hard to determine who to back in that scenario, right? Because in this corner, you have Alyssa, who's prone to delusions, right? And in this corner, you have Lindsey, who pretty much flies off the handle, does things, and then has amnesia about the part that she played in it after the fact, okay? So when just faced with Alyssa versus Lindsey, it's very hard to determine who to back in that scenario, right? I think that the saving grace in the situation is that we had the other ladies there to kind of provide context and color to the situation to determine, you know, whose team we could actually be on. Because like I said, when you just have Alyssa versus Lindsey, one could be telling the truth, one could be lying, or vice versa. It's very hard to determine who is right in that damn scenario, right? So Lindsey's main arguments were that Alyssa talks about her to the other ladies, right? And the other ladies pretty much said, Alyssa doesn't talk about you at all. She may not like you, but she does not talk about you at all. I fully believe that, okay? Alyssa is obsessed with herself, which means she's obsessed with the goings on of herself. And in order to talk about Lindsey, you kind of have to take energy away from that, okay? And you pretty much have to go to this person, that person, the third person, and make up stories and say things and keep the damn story going. I don't think that Alyssa has that much energy to take off of her damn self to go out there and talk about Lindsey, okay? And what lends credence to that is that the other ladies back up that damn scenario, right? So in that situation, check and mate, okay? Now, Lindsey's other assertion was that Alyssa was talking to her husband she didn't really explicitly say it, but she kind of alluded that it was kind of an untoward fashion, okay? Now listen, when just based between Alyssa and Lindsey, you could believe it, you could not believe it. But the other ladies add color to the situation because Katina basically says that she saw the messages between Alyssa and Mark and nothing was untoward about them, okay? We've all developed friendships in this group. We all have common experiences. We've trauma bonded in a certain scenario and we care about each other. So there's different group connections, different, text chains, different Instagram chains, and we connect on different levels, okay? But in terms of what Katina said when she saw the messages, there was nothing wrong about them. So once again, check and mate, okay? Lindsey can make these claims, but, if Alyssa says it didn't happen and then you have the other ladies provide context onto it, I fully back Team Alyssa in the scenario. And it's ridiculous to say in terms of, Alyssa being the voice of reason or the most rational one in the situation. But I don't know if it was just me, y'all. Drop down in the comments. But didn't it seem as if, Lindsey was kind of programmed to not like Alyssa? So she kind of kept trying to put a spin on it that maybe necessarily wasn't there. Drop down in the comments and let me know if y'all peeped that too. Now, what I thought was funny in the scenario, though, is that Noi was kind of used as the pinball, okay? And when I say pinball, I just mean like the determining factor, okay? Because Lindsey would say something and then Noi would be there to provide context because she was apparently in the middle. Then Jasmina would say something and then she would say, Noi can go with me on this because she was there. So she was kind of, when the wind blows, she over here. When the wind blows, she over here. But I thought that she was very fair in the scenario, okay? In terms of telling the actual version of what happened from an unbiased perspective. Because, even though she was there, she wasn't directly involved in the damn drama, okay? The drama was between people peripheral to her, so she can kind of see the situation clearly. And the fact that she still saw it in Alyssa's favor does say a lot in terms of Lindsey and Alyssa's versions of the damn story. So in terms of Lindsey versus Alyssa, I back Team Alyssa because everybody else seemed to be backing Alyssa as well. And she made the most rational sense in that scenario, okay? And I'm a firm believer, nobody is 100% anything, okay? So just because you're batshit crazy in terms of the relationship with you and your husband does not mean that you carry that kind of same energy into all of the relationships in your life, okay? So good job, Alyssa. Now moving on. Mark says Lindsey spit on his shirt during an argument, okay? Now, to me, this is a determination of public and private selves, okay? And what I mean by that is this. I don't care if you are, a celebrity, a reality TV star, or just Martha and Paul that live up the damn street, okay? There is a separation between your public and your private self. So even though you may be hell on earth behind the scenes, your job is to reflect a public persona that is of Mother Teresa, pure and clean, okay? So that when information appears to the contrary in terms of what people know about you, they immediately say, that's not of their character. I don't know that person that they're portraying in the media. I don't know that person to be of that nature, right? The problem with Lindsey is that she has been such a hellraiser throughout the damn season that it's very easy to believe anything that somebody, accuses her of, okay? And like I said last time, she was so awful on camera, during the damn season that I don't think it's out of the stretch of imagination to believe that when those cameras were exited, when the producers were exited, when the general public watching in terms of keeping her in check in a certain fashion have exited the situation, that her behavior didn't increase in a bad way tenfold, okay? So when Mark says that she spit on him, I can believe it, okay? Because Lindsey, she doesn't really have a middle. It's either she's nice with you or she's completely nasty, okay? And when she cuts deep, okay? And spitting on somebody, that is literally the most disrespectful thing you can do to somebody. It's basically saying that, you matter absolutely nothing to me, okay? You are the gum on the bottom of my shoe. I do not like you, I cannot stand you, and you mean nothing to me as a person or an entity in this world if you spit on somebody, okay? And I can definitely see her going to that length in an argument, okay? Because she sees red, she goes on the attack, and if she can go over here and talk about this man's finances, his manhood and his mama very openly on camera, you can't tell me that she can't do that same thing off camera and include the spit on him. So whether or not she intended to spit on him, that's up for debate. Y'all drop down in the comments and let me know. But I could definitely see a scenario where she spit on him and does not remember because of her convenient amnesia, right? Now let's move on to the experts weighing in to certain couples from this season. So let's talk about Jasmina and Michael. So for me, y'all, I wrote that she kept trying, the experts kept trying to put them back together. And this is what they're supposed to do, okay? If they did not try to give them a different perspective, to give them a different viewpoint in terms of their relationship that they could potentially try again, they wouldn't be doing their job, okay? But I want to introduce kind of the doctrine of knitting a sweater for a dead dog, okay? Tony Child's character in Girlfriends, she said something very pivotal in one of the seasons that have always taken forward into various situations over the years, right? And she said, no matter what we're doing, we are knitting a sweater for a dead dog, okay? And I fully believe that. And what that really means is you're doing an activity that doesn't make any sense. Like there's no defined purpose to it. It's like hot air for a situation that does not need it, okay? And I say that to say this. I'm fully on Jasmina's team when she was talking about when you argue with somebody and there are feelings there, then you can argue, you can go back and forth, but at the end of the day, there's still feelings there to sustain the relationship, okay? But what we're doing is we're arguing with no feelings underneath to sustain this, okay? So it's like I'm arguing, I'm going through all these communication issues, I'm going through all of these ups and downs, and there's no basis in terms of what's sustaining this relationship. So what's the purpose of doing this continually, right? We're knitting a sweater for a dead dog. And listen, the experts' viewpoints are admirable in terms of trying to get them to try again, to see a different perspective, and I fully understand and I fully respect that, okay? But the central issue between Jasmina and Michael is that there's no romantic feelings on the Jasmina side, okay? And just like Michael said, it's very hard to romance somebody that does not want to be romanced, okay? So we can argue it could be about a computer, it could be about Timbuktu, okay? If there's no romantic feelings to tie us together, what the hell are we arguing for? It makes no damn sense, right? And one thing that I did not like, y'all, is in terms of Dr. Vivian. And I normally really go up for her, and she's, pretty rational. And I think she meant well. I just don't like, how it came across. But she pretty much was telling Jasmina, you're going to get back in the dating pool and wonder, what the hell did I do? Okay, listen, Jasmina may be a lot of things, but she does seem to be pretty level-headed and resolute in her damn thinking. And if she does not have romantic feelings for this person, soldiering on to try to create them just seems like a zero-sum game to me. And it's kind of like she wanted her to do one of two evils. Either she wanted her to settle for someone that she knows she doesn't have feelings for, right? Or she just wanted her to end up in a bad situation that's better than what she may face in the world. I don't know. It just seemed like kind of like a decision between a rock and a hard place, right? Do I stay and work things out with someone that I don't have romantic feelings for? Or do I kind of go back out into the world and try to figure it out and embrace the free for all in terms of what I may be getting out there? And it's kind of like a fear-based decision that she was trying to get her into. It's like, you shouldn't go back out into the world because you have something great here and you're going to wonder why you gave it up. If she got through decision day, she said she wanted to work it out, okay? And then 2 weeks after that, they dissolved the relationship. And then 5 months after that, y'all are sitting here in terms of the reunion show. That's a stretch of time that she has had to basically think about the relationships, the ins and outs, and whether or not it was the right decision to end it. And if she's still resolute in that, at that point, you have to support her in it and move forward from there. And I firmly believe, I like Jasmina and Michael better as friends. And when they tried to interject the romantic stuff into it, I feel like it was the beginning of the end of the situation. So listen, like the expert said, just because it's not right today doesn't mean that it can't be right in the future. And maybe Dr. Viviana has a point in that, when she gets out into the world, maybe she'll realize later on, years from now that she could have worked with Michael and whatnot. But I think that because both people are on the same page in terms of we don't work in that fashion, you have to respect it, you have to accept it, and you have to move on from there. So y'all drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about that. Now on to Alyssa and Chris, y'all. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but I just wrote that there were delusions and lack of accountability. No new information here, okay? You have one person that's rooted in reality in terms of Chris, and you have one person that's rooted in their delusions. The problem that I continually have with Alyssa is the lack of accountability for the things in her marriage. Everything is someone else's fault, okay? It's the expert's fault for matching you with Chris. It's Chris's fault for not being who you wanted him to be. But nowhere in there is the self-awareness in terms of the part that I played in terms of torpedoing this relationship, okay? Because from the expert's perspective, we gave you exactly what you asked for on paper. Now listen, the wrapper may have not been what you wanted it to be, but the core values were there, okay? And you did not give this man a chance, and it's not our fault that you did not give him a chance, okay? So listen, we have to keep it pretty much 100% in this situation, okay? There's fault on both sides if you want to share it, okay? Not in terms of Chris and Alyssa, but in terms of Alyssa and the experts, right? On the expert side, I don't even know if it's the expert's fault because they can only give you what you ask for, right? And I think Dr. Pepper was very insightful when she said, had we known what a small window of what you were looking for, we probably wouldn't have matched you, okay? So listen, I don't even think it's the expert's fault at this point because they can only give you what you asked for, okay? And if Alyssa asked for these things and we gave you these things and you didn't like those things, to me, it kind of says more about what you want than it does about the expert's matching ability, okay? And it also, if the physical and the wrapper was, the most important thing to you, then perhaps you should have been more forthright in terms of the aesthetic that you wanted, right? Because if he's those things internally and it's just the exterior version of it that you don't like, then, we can work on that in terms of finding somebody else that fits that aesthetic more, right? But if it's a fundamental issue in you in terms of not being able to see the good in someone despite how they look, then that's a problem that you have to work with on your own. And you're going to continually run into the same problems if you keep approaching relationships the same way, right? So I wish Alyssa and Chris the best. I don't think Chris is going to need my support. I think he's going to be fine. But Alyssa, I truly believe that until you heal your past trauma and find some sort of accountability and self-awareness, you're going to end up where you always have ended up, which is alone. And on to Lindsey and Mark, y'all. I wrote that she gaslights and he doesn't follow through with actions. No love lost. I think the most interesting thing that I realized, or the most interesting tidbit that was kind of gleaned from the Lindsey and Mark sit down with the experts, came from Pastor Cal, where he basically said, you both torpedoed this relationship, okay? And I think that's a very, very, very fair assessment of the situation, okay? Lindsey gaslights, she flies off the damn handle, okay? She does things to cut people deep, and then she has amnesia on the back end. Mark, you know, he says he wants one thing and then he pretty much does another. He doesn't follow through with certain things. And that lack of follow through and the lack of appreciation for stuff that Lindsey has done only makes her fly off the handle even further. Okay. So, you know, I don't know if we can really place 50-50 blame on each one of them, but in their own way, they torpedoed their own relationship. And there's no love lost, which is what we saw in the damn scenario. Now on to the group sit down, y'all. Let's talk about Lindsey's apologies and Mark's reaction. Now, I will never condemn somebody for apologizing, okay? I think it's a wonderful thing to kind of have that self-awareness, to kind of realize that you were wrong in a situation, you did not treat somebody as fairly as you could, and you want to make amends to it by apologizing to them, okay? So I'm glad that Mark got the apology that he was rightfully deserved. The problem that I have with Lindsey's apologies is that they did not seem organic, okay? And what I mean by saying that is this. When someone apologizes, it's supposed to come from themselves. It's supposed to be organic. It's supposed to be something that they feel deep within their spirit and they want to give it to the other person. The fact that, you know, there were so many people involved in this apology kind of detracts from its effectiveness for me, you know? You have Olajuwon who's dragging the apology out. You have Steve who's kind of, you know, going through Mark to kind of get the apology out of Lindsey, right? You have Kevin saying that, you know, you're never going to be on this stage with this person again. You probably won't be in the same room with them for the rest of your life. You know, you should probably apologize to him. So there were so many different factors trying to drag this apology out of her that by the end of it, and once you get the apology, is it actually worth anything, right? Is it worth the breath that it took to sustain to get out of her, right? And truthfully, y'all, I don't know if the apology is worth anything, because I think everybody else being involved and everybody else trying to have to convince her to make this apology, it takes away from the effectiveness for me, okay? And y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you agree or you disagree. Now, on to Mark's reaction. You know, what could he really do in the situation? When someone gives you an apology that does not seem very sincere, that seems like it's kind of a dragged out thing in terms of everybody having to convince it, what do? You basically accept it for what it is and you move on, okay? And so when, you know, the people on stage are telling Mark, you know, if you want an apology for something else, you probably should say it right now. You probably should open your lips and pretty much tell her what's on your mind that you need an apology for. And I think at that point, y'all, Mark was I think he was kind of spent. You know, I think emotionally he was spent, physically he was spent. And I think you get to a point in a situation where you realize that there's no winner here. It's unwinnable, okay? And at that point, you just go into protect your peace mode. And I think that's what he did, okay? So do I think that there was more that he wanted an apology for? Absolutely. But I think he did a cost-benefit analysis in his head. And he said the energy it would take to get this apology or these additional apologies out of her is not worth the breath that it would take for me to sustain it, okay? So I think there's nothing wrong with protecting your peace. But I do kind of wish that Mark would have gotten his final thoughts out, because in all honesty, this is probably the last time that they're going to be on stage together or in the same room together. Hell, Lindsey packed up and left Boston for Palo Alto. So Mama pretty much left Boston for another damn, you know, state. So I don't really see a scenario where y'all interact in the future, to be completely honest. So I think it's a lesson in saying what's on your mind because you may not get a chance to in the future. But I can also see, the antithesis of that, which is protecting your peace at all costs because it's already been traumatic enough. And last but not least, y'all, let's talk about the season summary. So, very cute moments, very playful moments, very fun moments. But this season, it was a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Out of 5 couples, that came into the process, you end up with 2 marriages being sustained. And out of those 2 marriages, I fully believe in one of them, and the other one, I'm cautiously optimistic with. So I don't know if this season is a success. I guess it's a success in terms of that there were actual married people by the end of it. But I think overall, it was a very, very up and down roller coaster. And sometimes you have to, you kind of wonder, is it the expert's fault? Is it the contestant's fault? Or is it a shared responsibility? And I think it's a shared responsibility. I think that people come into the Married at First Sight experiment with the best intentions. And then when you add the production, the producers, the general public, the cameras in your face, I think that the intentions and the reasonings and people's attitudes and the way they approach problems and situations can get a bit muddled, okay? So overall, I think it was a interesting season, but I'm really looking forward to the next one since apparently it's right around the corner, y'all. And y'all drop down in the comments and let me know if you want me to review the Where Are They Now episode. I don't really normally watch it, but I'm actually kind of interested in it because it seems like Chris and Alyssa may find love with people from prior seasons. So I think that could be a train wreck or a benefit like no other. So we'll see. So drop down in the comments and let me know if you want me to review it, and I will if there's enough, groundswell over it. But y'all, I think that's really all I wanted to say on this damn episode. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, bring on the Where Are They Now and the next damn season. Thank you so much for watching this season, and I will talk to y'all later.